Thank you. Thank you for having me, and I will take you up on that offer to visit.
Right. So George, are you taking over? Mike, do you want to?
So,
We've already introduced.
yeah, I apologize that we cut our sponsor a little short, but we want to make sure we try to stay on time and respect everyone's Friday. Our next segment's going to be a really nice set of talks, or at least I expect them to be, about total joints in your ASC and what people really need to know. It is truly an honor to have Caitlin Zulla with us. She keeps referring to herself as someone with SCA Health, but let's be very clear. Caitlin Zulla is the CEO of SCA Health. She's not someone with SCA Health. She is the boss. So we're really honored to have her here with us today, and I'm very excited to hear why she thinks this is the future of total joints and exactly where we're headed. So, Caitlin, thank you again for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. So I am happy to talk about why this is the future of total joints and why now and where we're headed. I appreciate the introduction to me as the CEO, Mike. The next slide gives you a little bit of a look of who SCA is, just a bit of our size and breadth. We are 314 ambulatory surgery centers, surgical hospitals, and office-based labs across the U.S. We also, as I mentioned in the panel discussion a few minutes ago, we are increasingly partnering with specialist groups in their practice through similar joint venture MSO structures. And we've got 5 specialist groups in musculoskeletal, cardiovascular, and GI, and rapidly growing. Last year, we did about over 1.25 million cases. And our revenues are, we've topped $3 billion. We continue to grow at a great CAGR that makes me incredibly proud. And most importantly, we have an incredible net promoter score of 91.5. We also track incredible clinical quality metrics. As you can see, our mission, our vision, and our values, our number one value is about clinical quality, and it's something we take incredibly seriously. On the next slide, you'll see our impact in orthopedics, why we're all here. Orthopedics is a strategic service line for SCA Health. Nearly 7 in 10 of our ambulatory surgery centers have orthopedic service lines. And we're performing total joints in 129 ASCs across the nation. And so just in terms of numbers, in 2022, we performed over 24,000 total joint replacements. And when you look at the savings to the healthcare system, since 2019, doing these total joints in the SCA's partnered ASCs have saved the healthcare system over $200 million. To continue the growth of our orthopedic and total joint strategic service line, we have a dedicated team that is focused on standing up state-of-the-art high acuity service lines. You can see some of the pictures of our team at work starting up new strategic service lines in orthopedics. And again, we think orthopedics is so important that in addition to the strategic service line team, our chief physician executive and our medical director are also orthopedic surgeons. So now getting into a little bit of why ASCs are the future and why now. As I hope most people on this phone know, the ASC industry is growing so rapidly because it uniquely aligns incentives for stakeholders and fulfills the quadruple aim, which you can see on the slide. At the end of the day, the quadruple aim starts with high quality outcomes. And at SCA, as I mentioned, clinical quality is our first value. Without high quality care, you have nothing else. And we are so proud that really across the entire industry, and certainly in our partnered ASCs, our patients experience similar or oftentimes better outcomes than they would have if they had the procedure at an inpatient or HOPD site of care. Reflecting over the last few years with the pandemic, for better or worse, it also highlighted the value of specialized facilities that are free from infection, unlike many hospitals. The next turn in our quadruple aim is all about satisfied patients. I mentioned at SCA, we have almost a 92-point net promoter score, and we know that truly the ASC industry is afforded relatively high net promoter scores. And that's because they offer personalized, intimate patient care. that's all focused around the patient. And then patients can recover at home, which is where they want to be. The third leg of our quadruple aim is about our clinician well-being, making sure that our physicians and our clinicians are able to work at a place that they also love and enjoy. And so when I think about clinician well-being, obviously ASCs not only save money for patients, but ASCs align incentives with physicians where they are rewarded to perform cases in lower sites of care. And I think that incentive alignment is so important and something that's missing when you look at the broader healthcare landscape. ASCs are specialized, focused institutions. They often have consistent teams. There's a huge amount of efficiency that comes with that, which is typically a source of great satisfaction to the surgeon partners and the clinicians. And then that aspect of physician ownership provides autonomy. And that autonomy often drives agency and satisfaction. So physicians really enjoy working in the ASC space. And then the last leg of the tool is all about affordability and lowering the cost of healthcare in the United States. As we've talked about throughout today, ASCs provide high quality procedures at a lower cost. And we are oftentimes half the cost of HOPDs, certainly on Medicare, and even more when you look at the commercial side. And as we talk to payers, and you saw with Shara, with HCSC and Blue Cross in Texas, and other risk-bearing entities, they understand the benefit. In addition to patients who certainly are beginning to care more and more about unit cost. And what's exciting is that the definition of payer is growing and including risk-bearing entities and employers. And as I really do think that value-based care is the future of healthcare, and as capitation for patients increases, all these risk-bearing entities are going to be more focused on affordability, and a site of care shift is the most meaningful way to reduce the total cost of care. And obviously ASCs are one of the biggest site of service shift opportunities we have. So the last and final slide I'll leave you all with is why now? So for our clinicians in the audience, you know this better than me. There have been incredible advancements in pain management that make the ability to do higher and higher acuity cases in our ASCs possible. Advancements in regional nerve blocks are the #1 reason why our patients are able to go home the same day. There's been significant improvement in drugs and at-home PT, but this ability to manage patient pain is why I think we're seeing more and more higher acuity cases move to the ASC successfully. Second, we hit it on our last panel with Corin and Zimmer. We're seeing increased vendor support. Our ASCs do not have the same margins and cost shift abilities as hospitals, and we often don't get reimbursed for implants. So having high cost implants is financially challenging to the entire partnership. And so we've seen vendors, there's a reference to Stryker, they're leaning in more to drive both affordability, which is important, and access. Dedicated teams to support ASC growth, differentiated price points, differentiated sterile processing, trays, and sometimes even taking materials off site to support the process. Without that vendor support, we wouldn't be able to do total joints, specifically in the ASCs. Third reason time is now, regulatory environment. CMS understands the cost savings that ASCs afford their patients. And so we're seeing higher acuity procedures being approved to be performed in an ASC. First, it was total joints, then most recently hips. Now, the regulatory environment obviously is something that could also potentially be a headwind. We know CMS can sometimes seem that they're constantly changing their approach to regulation of healthcare. And so, of course, it's we need to be ever vigilant of stark shifts or anti-kickback regulations. Some modifications that are proposed out there could make it easier or more challenging to operate an ASC with a physician partnership. So it's important to stay aware and engaged of all things regulatory. And then the last reason why truly our time is now, and I think we'll continue to see such exciting growth in the ASC space, is this payer focus. Insurance companies, you heard it from Shara, are focused on lowering costs by optimizing site of service. And we will see that that continued shift in risk and that expansion of it's not just the insurance company as the payer anymore. more and more employers are leaning into site of service initiatives. At SCA, we've seen employer excitement around site of service shift so much that we started our own new business line called Specialist Management Solutions. And they partner with fully insured employers and some full insured, so self-insured self-insured employers and fully insured payers to think through ways to engage patients and employees before they need surgery and direct them to a lower cost site of care that obviously hits quality benchmarks. And I do want to say, like, while the direct to employer space is just incredibly attractive, it is incredibly hard to steer patients and lives for one procedure. So why I am so passionate about this specialist management model is because it incorporates direct to employer benefits in a larger health plan solution. There's over 7,000 CPT codes that we're able to direct to provide a holistic solution to the employer, so they're not getting piecemealed. I've referenced risk arrangements a few times. They highlight value, and especially as one of the biggest drivers of affordability will be site of service, and that's going to be, it is important for Medicare Advantage, but as we see risk continue to grow, it's going to be absolutely critical in the commercial risk space. And then, the last piece we heard a little bit on the last panel, but specialist risk is an advancing frontier. Bundles are a place to start. You heard some payers have challenges adjudicating bundles, and we have created bundles for our partners with Blue Cross Blue Shield in Minnesota, United Healthcare, Aetna. They're leaning more into joint carve-out lists, and there's a lot more I think we can work with our payer partners to find value-oriented ways as different parts of the United States move on that journey to full risk. So I know this is a lot in hopefully 7 minutes. There is a lot more to do to optimize the support of our key stakeholders, and there is so much momentum and need and excitement. And that is why I think our time is now.